So just go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Anne Weills. I'm in the National Lawyers Guild, and I'm an activist in Oakland against police brutality. I've been working with the Coalition to Honor Oscar Grant since actually the verdict. We've been working really hard in trying to build a movement, and the movement's been being built obviously since his death, but we've organized, I think, a large coalition of folks in the Bay who really care about Oscar Grant, but we're not going to stop here. We're going to go forward and organize hopefully community control of policing in Oakland, where we take back our police, and hopefully in San Francisco and all throughout California. We have to take back our police. This is, I mean, I've been in Oakland 35 years, and I've witnessed the OPD kill a lot of young men. I live in East Oakland near Mills College, and 6 years ago on Easter weekend, a young black man ran up the hill in his car. He got in a crash. The police stopped him. They beat him to death, an unarmed 30-year-old black man named Jameel Weekfall. And so, I mean, I could go on and on with families of people who have been murdered by the Oakland police, and obviously police in San Francisco, and so we just can't let this continue. But I do think one thing of Oscar's death is he's created this incredible, he's ignited a movement to change the world, hopefully, for young people. And obviously, it's not just, it's a lot of people who are endangered by the cops. I mean, not just, I mean, Hispanics, immigrants now, the whole, you know, changes in the law in Arizona to demonize immigrants and to racially profile people. Obviously, police do that on a consistent basis. They racially profile young black men, young Hispanic, and Latino men. So anyway, we want everybody to join with us to stop this violence of the police against our youth.
And it's been 2 years since the death of Oscar Grant, and now we hear his sentencing for Johannes Mehserle. And can you just talk about your initial reaction when you heard the ruling? As well as the reaction of your fellow.
Well, I was in my office, and I actually, when I heard it, I screamed. I almost fainted. I had maybe too idealistically think he would give him 7 years. He would do something halfway decent. He would respect the youth of California, of this whole state, this whole country, and do the right thing, and show that cops don't get a special form of justice in California. And so obviously that didn't happen. So first I was in incredible shock, then enraged. Now I'm just sad because, you know, it happened, and Oscar Grant's family is very close to this coalition, and his Jack Bryson, whose sons were on the platform when Oscar was murdered, and who still have totally post-traumatic stress and incredible emotional, I mean, hurt to the heart. And so we feel the same way, obviously not as connected, but in fact, you know, Oscar Grant is our child too. And so, you know, I am just so sorry, but not just for me as an older white female, but also for all these youth that now can never trust that this is not going to happen to them. Had there been a decent sentence here, let alone a decent verdict, you know, had he got to be convicted of murder, that would be, you know, that would give them hope. What kind of hope is a young person of color, and even maybe white kids who have to deal with cops who just, you know, demonize youth no matter who they are, where they are, and so they're just like walking on eggs. Imagine that, walking on eggs your whole life. I mean, obviously with white skin privilege, I don't have to have the same experience, but I've been around enough, I'm old enough to know what that feels like. I can empathize with that, and it's just unbelievably horrible. And so that to me is the greatest shame of what Judge Perry did.
And what's the next move now? Now that we heard the ruling, what's next?
The next, well, we're continuing to meet after this. We have a coalition. We're talking about organizing a statewide conference to hook up a network of people from Los Angeles, San Diego, Long Beach, throughout the state to continue this fight to control our cops and to really bring back some really serious form of community policing for our people in the state. So we're not giving up. We're going to take his memory with us, you know, forever. And we're not going to give up in terms of trying to transform this culture. Instead of where the police rule, the people rule. So, I mean...
So even though there was a sentencing, it doesn't end here?
No, it does not end here. If anything, this may galvanize even more and more people to come into the struggle, to change the cops, to change the behavior of the cops, but also to change the leadership of the state. You know, this is a state that's run by a number of elites. Obviously, the forces of the state are aligned against us. Now you have, since 9/11, you have these joint terrorist task forces that demonize, leftists, that demonize people of color, that demonize anybody they want to characterize as a terrorist. So we're full of work to do. We have an incredible amount of work to do to push back the kind of militarization of our society that has increased exponentially since 9/11. I mean, I've been through the Vietnam War, I've been through the first Gulf War, the second Gulf War. I've seen more and more the militarization of the United States, and we see it in Oakland. I mean, they have, in our garage across the street, they have all this paraphernalia. They have, on the 28th we had a rally to honor Oscar Grant with the ILW. They had little tanks down there. They have something called an L-Rod, which is it's sort of like an armed personnel carrier with this sonar cannon on it that basically can paralyze you and deafen you over a period of time. So they have weaponry now. All of these police forces in LA, and they have helicopters, they have tanks, they have. So we have to transform this whole culture from a pro-human culture instead of a militarization of the society culture. And that's what we have today. And unfortunately, Obama has not yet made a significant shift in that kind of a culture. And if anything, we're becoming more militarized every day as the war in Afghanistan goes on, as the war in Iraq continues. It's not over yet in Iraq. We're still there. We have the largest embassy in the world in Iraq. So it's a long struggle, but hopefully people will join us and we can remember Oscar Grant by continuing to organize. And one of the most famous slogans that I keep telling myself is, don't mourn, organize. Don't mourn, organize, because that's the only power we have going